Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a fruity floral fragrances video. The difference between that video and what we're going to be talking about today is that in that video, I focused on fragrances that have equally prominent and dueling fruity and floral accords in them. For me, the fragrances that I'm going to talk about today are primarily fruity. Yes, they may have some woody notes or some musky notes or something else that kind of bolsters the fruitiness, but there's no denying that for me, fruit is the primary feature of these fragrances. They are also quite mouth-watering to me. So when I think about why that is, there's something like just so juicy about all of these fragrances that I don't know if it's the tartness, I don't know if it's like perhaps the citrus in combination with some of the fruity notes or whatever, but it just makes my mouth water. These are fantastic. They're also a slight bit meatier for this springtime than perhaps your tropical fruity fragrances that I will talk about as we get into the summer months. And so I do have one that is a passion fruit forward fragrance. So perhaps I'm telling tales here, but I'm trying to save like the banana and mango and passion fruit and guava types of fragrances for summer videos. I have 10. I love 10. 10's a nice round number. And these are all really good. They're very sort of fleshy, fruity fragrances for spring. They're meaty. But before we get started, I've been forgetting to say thank you publicly to someone. I said thank you to her privately and asked if she was okay if I mentioned this on the channel. We had a viewer and a fellow content creator. Her name is Angie. She's over at Good Sense with Angie. She reached out for my address because she wanted to send me a little gift. Like, who doesn't love a gift? I certainly do. I love to give gifts, particularly to our fragrance friends out here, family, friends, whoever. Love to gift and love to receive gifts. And she sent me an amazing tumbler, and it's an actual like Stanley tumbler, and it says Veronica says with a little perfume bottle. I mean, if this is not the cutest gift and it's in pink because I am in my full pink era, I mean, if you think I'm lying, here's my Starbucks tumbler. I mean, sorry about the lipstick on the top. That's so gross. But anyway, thank you, Angie. This is so sweet. I asked if it's okay to mention where you can find something like that or get it ordered. I will link it down in the description box, but it's called 88 Elephants on Etsy. No kickback for me, nothing. She was just being super sweet and wanted to send me something because she enjoyed my channel. Thank you, Angie. It's people like you that make being here and all the work that goes into these channels so worthwhile. So I really, really appreciate you. Let's get into these fragrances. There are some usual suspects and perhaps some unusual suspects that you would not think would be in this kind of lineup. We're going to kick off with one that I believe was newer last year in 2024. I think it was released in 2024. It's from the house Commodity. Look, milk from this house, both the expressive and the bold, are like absolute loves deep inside all of the chambers of my heart. I like gold from this house. I like a bunch. I like the paper one. This one is really juicy. And we're going to put a T in there, like Kathleen Lights. If you watch her channel, juicy. This is super, super juicy. It's got some tartness and some sourness as well. So I want to share some of the notes with you. By the way, this is the expressive version. There are 3 levels. I forget the lower one. I think it's personal, expressive, and then a bold version. This is expressive. I like the bold version as well. And I'm forgetting what the difference was because I tried all 3 of them. This one has been compared to Angel Nova from Mugler, if you have tried that, as well as to Lychee Rose from Nest, and to another one that I'm going to talk about later on, a Mind Games fragrance. What we've got going on here is a little bit of floral. It wasn't in the fruity floral video because to me this is primarily fruity, but it does have a rose note, which is probably why it's compared to some of those other fragrances, combined with raspberry, rhubarb, and strawberry. So it smells like a fresh pie that maybe has some berries in it. I've never had a rhubarb pie. Have you? Rhubarb is a tough note for me because it can be a little bit sort of sour or tart in fragrances. I think it plays really quite nicely in here. This does remind some people as well of Delina, and I totally get that comparison. So like a rose tart berry pie kind of smell. Pie not as in like the sweet gourmand version, but like the filling of the pie, you know, before you sweeten it up with sugar. And then it has a tad bit of a woody base, and that's kind of what you get. It's fresh, it's fun, it's playful, it's flirty. If you imagine the colors like fuchsia pink, regular pink, and perhaps a red mixing into a spring fruity fragrance, this is what it would smell like. Juice, like appropriately named. If you like juices that smell like fruit punch, imagine that a little bit more tart with a sort of a rose nuance in the background, and you would understand what juice, at least the expressive version, smells like. Moderate longevity and projection, one that you could wear in the morning through maybe the early afternoon hours and switch out your fragrance at that point while this one starts to sort of fade away. Not awfully priced. I think this is maybe right over $100 or so. Watch me be lying. Hold on, let me go check out the price for y'all. I did lie. This bottle is $150. However, it is a full 100-ounce bottle, and in today's fragrance price world, that's actually not so bad. So there you go. So if juice seems a little bit too tart or sour for you and you would prefer something that has some rounder edges, some gentler sides to it, I suggest Cassiopeia. This is a fragrance that had a moment in the YouTube sun, a big moment in the YouTube sun, somewhere in like the 2020, 2021 timeframe, and recently has sort of dropped off of the fragrance sphere, and I'm not sure why. It's a really, really good fragrance. Now, the primary fruity note in here is passion fruit. So perhaps this belongs in the summer category, but I'm gonna sneak it in here anyway because it's got a lot of body yaddy yaddy for this time of year, particularly spring into late spring before full summer hits, because it's like a meaty, fleshy passion fruit fragrance. The roundness of this comes from what I perceive to be a nice white type of musk, a softer, gentler musk here. And there's also a good heaping dose of tonka bean, which for me comes across a little bit vanillic, almondy in the fragrance. This is so pretty. This is so pretty, fruity and sweet and feminine, delightful to wear, really robust fragrance. And it's got a softness to it. It's got a softness to it. Whereas juice can feel to some like it has some harsh lines because of the rhubarb note in particular. This one doesn't have any of those sort of sharp edges that a fragrance like juice might feel like to some. This to me is a much softer, palatable fragrance. Very pretty girl. If you like Cassiopeia, let us know in the comments. And I say that because I think this is one of those fragrances that is being disfavored, particularly as newer fragrances come out on the market. And it's like people either forget about Cassiopeia or they think it's time to diss it in favor of the new stuff. And I'm here to tell you, I still think that this is great. I have nothing short of a deep, profound love for this next fragrance since the moment that I sniffed it. I fell in love with it. I love the bottle. I love the entire feel and vibe of it. I find it to be kind of unique among the fruity, musky offerings myself. Other people might disagree with me. And apparently, this has been around for a while, but I only learned of it last year. Was it re released? Those of you that this is Xerjoff ERBA Gold, by the way, but those of you that are Xerjoff fanatics, you understand the history, you've been following the house for forever. What is the deal with this fragrance? Apparently, it was released in 2016. Was it re released last year or did it just have a resurgence last year? I am not sure. This one, let me say, if you are musk averse, this definitely has a heaping dose of musk in the base. I feel like the musk has sort of strengthened with time comparison to when I first got this bottle. I think some of you are going to find the musk intolerable, perhaps a little screechy. I think it's a rich, full musk that to me serves as the base, the foundation upon which a summer fruit bowl sits. And in that bowl are fresh melons, perhaps strawberry, honeydew, cantaloupe, those kinds of fresh summer fruits, in addition to citruses. So the notes here: lemon, bergamot, orange, green apple, melon, and pear. So imagine this melange of fresh fruity notes. So we're not talking about berries. We're talking about, think of apple and pear, like I said, along with the melon notes. And I love that about this. It's juicy, it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's uplifting. It reminds me of the color of the bottle. It reminds me of spring and the concept of like frolicking through fields in your sundress. It's just beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. I find it rather intoxicating, a little bit mesmerizing, very long lasting, super fruity. I feel like this has a bit of a sweetness to it, like you might find at the bottom of a summer fruit bowl. If you think about the juices of melons sort of combining at the bottom of the bowl, perhaps with a little touch of like a simple syrup that you would add to the fruit bowl to give it some sweetness and a tiny bit of citrus. And there you go. That is what this fragrance is. It opens a little bit heavier on the citrus, but it settles down into that fruit bowl with a gorgeous musk. Long lasting, very projecting, room filler, compliment getter, Herba Gold. I think this is phenomenal. I don't have anything bad to say about this fragrance. Love this. Let me go on and get another one out of the way that I think people are probably expecting to see in a video like this. Another yellow bottle from a different house, Sospiro, and this is Dolce Melodia. I adore this in the same way that I adore Herba I was gonna say Pura. It's not Herba Pura, Herba Gold, pardon me. But there are some differences here. So the similarities is that this one, Dolce Melodia, also gives you that summer fruit bowl aspect. Perhaps not melons. This time it's more sort of citrus and you still get a pear note. And then this one has the addition of vanilla and some beautiful florals, as well as it still has the musk like you do in Herba Gold. Vanilla, florals, and a touch of woodiness in the base that distinguish this from Herba Gold. I will say that my sense is that most people will find Dolce Melodia a little bit smoother and more tolerable than Herba Gold. I love them both, and there are days that I would probably want to reach for Herba Gold over this one if you want the melon aspects for that summer, spring, summer fruit aspect. If you want something a little bit more gentle all around, this is a stunner. Divine, divine. The vanilla musk combo with the touch of sandal woodiness way deep in the background, I think make this a little bit more artistic and all around crowd pleasing than perhaps the Herba Gold for most people. I'm talking about the wearer versus the person smelling it in the audience, so to speak, the people around you. I think both will smell fantastic to the people around you, but for you as the wearer, particularly if you tend to find heavy musk to be screechy or off-putting, this is the one to try between the two. Dolce Melodia. This was sold out forever and a day when it first released. It stayed hard to find and largely sold out through 2024. The perfumer here is Christian Provenzano, and I've really been enjoying testing his creations lately. Gorgeous. Y'all, we need to talk about this next fragrance. It makes me want to sing some Sade up in here. Your Love is King. Is that the name of the song? Your love is king. Crown you with my heart. Your love is king. You're the ruler of my heart. Your kiss is real. I've been trying to tell y'all don't take reviews online with a grain of salt, including mine. Do your own testing and see what you think because people will have you out here believing that something perfectly fan friggin' tastic isn't worth your time, isn't worth your energy, shouldn't be explored. And the reviews on Fragrantica sometimes are like the worst. People, and I'm gonna say it, you could hate me if you want to, judge me. Judge me. But my problem is their judgment. There are people on Fragrantica, it's like their job is to write an epistle, a diatribe, a tome, an entire encyclopedia about their opinion on one fragrance and dissect it to the point where you'll think it smells horrible. And they're wrong, at least in my opinion. It can feel so snobbish and pretentious. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about in the comments, or if you tend to agree with Fragrantica reviews, then hey, ignore me and enjoy the reviews. But this is also from Sospiro, and this is called Maraschino. Wow. The cherry, so the accusations on Fragrantica is that the cherry is childish, it's juvenile. One of the comments said, old lady fruit syrup. Give me a break. This is one of the juiciest, fun, flirty cherries that I have smelled in a long time. And here's why I love this. The cherry is accompanied by other fruity aspects. There's a very fresh apple, soft like apricot-y, peachy deal happening. Maybe even something a little bit lemony. This is another fragrance that has a decent amount of musk. And I think it's great. I think it's great. You get a tiny bit more like almond, tonka beanie kind of thing happening in the middle, along with perhaps a little bit more floral, but the fruitiness stays throughout. The cherry part is most prominent in the opening and maybe toward the mid. Those other fruity players come out to play as the fragrance settles down after the first few minutes, and they kind of accompany the cherry. When I first tried this, I felt like it was more just general fruity than cherry. As I tried this more and more, I realized I was wrong, and the cherry is a prominent player. Nice, juicy, tart, and sweet cherry in the beginning, along with those other fruity aspects. A really delicious, like apple aspect to this as well. It's really, really great. It's fun, it's flirty, it's perfect here for spring and into the summer and probably into the fall as well. Another one that I wouldn't hesitate to wear year round, but because it has some oomph and substance from that musk, vanilla, woody combo in the base, this is great as we transition into a little bit warmer weather without it being sticky hot. I don't have a full bottle of the next one, although I am seriously still considering it. I almost purchased it during the Sephora sale. I do have a lovely travel spray that I'm working through, Dolce & Gabbana Lampedrice Royale. Oof. Let's talk about the prettiness of the bottle. I love this, as you can tell from the nail polish I've been wearing lately. Very beautiful pink nudie. This one is a little bit deeper nude color bottle. I like this versus the original that's in the clear bottle. I used to own the original and it was fresh, but a little tiny bit too sour and tart for me. And so I passed that along. Still a great fragrance, could have been in this video too. If you like slightly tart fragrances, definitely check that one out, especially for summer. It's a little bit lighter. This one has more oomph to it, more substance. The primary note that gives this one a little bit of like mouth-watering aspect is a tart cranberry note. And so if you've had cranberry juice or fresh cranberries, well, you kind of have to mix cranberry with something sweeter, like some other kind of compote that has sugary aspects to it, or with sugar directly, and kind of mash it up for cranberry to really be palatable. Otherwise, cranberry can be a little bit tart if you just eat them alone. Let me know if you like just raw cranberries, but that's my feeling about cranberry. Anyway, this is incredibly mouth-watering. Although musk isn't listed as a note, I certainly pick up both muskiness, a very, very light, sort of watery muskiness, and a delicate woodiness in the base. I do pick up a lot of the original Lampedrice. I believe that had a rhubarb note, which is what gave it its like sourness and tartness. It feels like this has something like raspberry or those kinds of fruits. Definitely that cranberry note, and perhaps a little bit of touch of watermelon. It's fresh and juicy. And it's in the like berry tartness direction versus the other fragrances that I've talked about. And that's what makes this one maybe different from the others that I'll mention today. The featured base note is cedarwood, which I really enjoy as a very sort of linear, crisp smelling wood. This one has more substance, more staying power for me, and more presence and projection than the original. It's quite lovely, quite mouth-watering. I think it smells really good in the air too. Perfect, like fruity fragrance for the spring. Do you have this? Let me know in the comments. And if so, what do you think about how it smells and its performance? Tell us down below. I'm not sure why we don't hear about this next fragrance more. If I remember correctly, I blind bought this on a whim because I saw it on deep discount. I mean, like, that's always a reason for me to like take a chance, right? Anyway, this is from Nishane and it's called ZENNE. And if you go to the website and read the history of this, it represents a character in shadow play, which I think is really neat. The notes here aren't sort of like usual suspect fruity notes. At the top, grapefruit, blackcurrant, and rhubarb. And I want you to forget that you heard that, because when you think about those three notes separately, you think about notes that are tart or sour. And I don't think you get that in this fragrance at all. Now, in the heart, in the middle, there's rose, gardenia, and sandalwood. And here's what you really get in the base: vanilla mostly, ambergris, and some musk. So if I had to describe this, it's one of those scenarios where, what is the expression? The whole is better than the sum of the parts. In other words, forget about the individual notes. And what you have here is a beautiful, delicious, gentle fruitiness. Like, I don't think this smells sour. I don't think it smells tart. Black currant on its own can sometimes be a little bit green, a little bit smelling like ammonia. Sometimes, and people don't really talk about this, black currant, depending on what's accompanying it, can also appear or like have the illusion in a fragrance of like a deep, fruity, juicy berryness. I think this is deeply fruity. It almost smells like a sexy plum with an underlying lovely deep vanilla and a slight bit of woody muskiness, but primarily deep, dark fruitiness and vanilla in the most fantastic of ways. This is so juicy. This is so feminine. Beautiful even, a little bit on the mature side. Maybe because of the depth of the fragrance, I find this to be a very deep fragrance, very substantive, has a lot of depth, a lot of beauty. Find this also to have a unique elegance that I don't get from any of the other fragrances in today's lineup. Most of the fragrances are very, very playful. Well, maybe the next two coming up will give you some semblance of elegance, but this is the most elegant and refined, if you will, of the bunch that I'm talking about today. Bar none, bar none. Fantastic. Underrated. Check this one out. It's super affordable now on gray market sites. So if the last one is the most elegant, this next one is bar none the sexiest one. And we're talking about VENOM Incarnate from Stefan Hbert Lucas. And I want to read you the top of the description here on the website. This is a terrific love potion. Ooh, yes. Created to make you irresistible. Facts, hashtag facts, a mystical, bewitching, and fascinating elixir to conquer the heart of the coveted one like the delicious poison of a passionate bite. Ooh, wee! This is just sexy AF, friends. Those of you that want to be grown and sexy for date night, you've got to get your nose on this. And I will say this is appealing to everyone in this house. Even my son complimented me. He thought it just smelled really good, really fruity and fresh, he called it. Notes that stand out. This is known to have a pretty prominent strawberry note and one of the best strawberry notes that I've smelled anywhere. And it's like a perfumey interpretation of a strawberry note. And I say that because strawberry, if you've had strawberries, you know there's like an opening phase of a strawberry when it's still like freshly picked off the stem and it comes across perhaps a tad bit sort of green and watery. And then as it sits more and matures, and ripens, it gets deeper, sweeter, berrier. And then on the back end of it, if it's a little bit over ripened to the point where it's spoiling, that's a different kind of smell. Still can be good for like a perfume version. I feel like this is a perfumey interpretation of a deep strawberry scent, like a fully ripened strawberry, along with sweetness from caramel. And I want to share that this has one of the sexiest leather notes that is so smooth, almost like suede buttery in the background, not prominent, but just enough to give this a little bit of air of, mystery, sophistication. This has vanilla and patchouli in the base as well. But for me, the primary players are a deep, ripened, juicy, perfumey interpretation of strawberry, lovely, sweet caramel in like a vanilla and leathery, suede base that I think is just fantastic. Great year round, like, this can really hold its own in the winter and is fantastic for date night as the weather starts to warm up before summer, like the dead heat of summer, although on summer nights, this would be a fabulous choice as well. Really, really good. Fantastic performance too, by the way, fantastic projection. You will fill up a room with this. I have one more to talk about, and then the 10th one, I want to make an honorable mention, and I'll share why. I don't have a full bottle of this next fragrance. I do have a travel spray of the gorgeous Jadoub, which is a chess term that I learned means I adjust. Like if you're just touching the players on the board of your chess game and not intending to make a move, you just want to be clear to your opponent that you're just adjusting the pieces. Jadoub. So you can interpret what that might mean in a sort of personal setting, one to one, in a date, whatever. This is by far the deepest, perhaps slightly darkest, because it's not really dark, but in comparison to the other ones that I've mentioned, this is the deepest, darkest one that I'm sharing today. It has been compared to Juice from Commodity, and I do think there are a lot of similarities in terms of the fruity aspects. However, Jadoub gets darker and deeper with the addition of some amber types of notes and woody notes. The fruitiness in here is berry notes, pomegranate, and then there's also citrus, mandarin. And it's just a beautiful, mouth-watering combination. It doesn't smell tart at all. Whereas I think Juice can have a little bit of tartness to it that I think is sort of fresh, like that Delina style tartness to it. I don't find Jadoub to be tart at all. I find it to have like the edges that would create tartness sort of filed down and maybe a little touch of sweetness added in here. There's a gorgeous rose in the middle that reminds me very much of the rose in Delina Exclusive and perhaps the rose in Atomic Rose. But the primary player here is those fruity aspects combining together, the citrus plus the sort of pomegranate juiciness here. Oh, it's so beautiful. In the base, you do get a little bit of patchouli, some leather, ambrose star, something that gives a slight vanillic touch, and it is wonderful. Fairly long lasting, fairly projecting. You will be noticed around you. It's a crowd pleasing fragrance. These fragrances are pretty pricey. I will say that to me, Jadoub is worth the price if you don't mind that sort of price bracket in general. I mean, if you mind it, no fragrance is going to be worth it in that price bracket. But for those of you that don't mind spending a little bit on a quality luxury fragrance, Jadoub is gorgeous and worth every penny, in my opinion. I want to end with an honorable mention, mostly because as it settles down, you do get more floral notes and it's brighter and airier and fresher. And this is an affordable one from Juliana's perfume and it's called Valencia Grove. Pretty little label on here. This is, I think, a 30 mil and it goes for, I want to say, right under $40. This is a fun, fruity, floral musk. And so notes here include an opening of red currant, pineapple, and lemon together. It's supposed to smell invigorating and zesty on the opening, and I agree with that. It's really bright, uplifting, and fresh, energetic. In the mid, you continue to get a fruity aspect from strawberry, but then jasmine and rose come into play. And then there's a lily of the valley note that I think becomes fairly prominent, which gives it like this airy, clean, wispy soapiness. But those citric and fruity aspects remain throughout. The lily of the valley kind of comes forward in the middle and becomes an equal player. So it's fresh, it's clean, it's uplifting, it has a sweetness to it. In the base, it just says gourmet woody notes. And I do think there's a bit of gourmandy kind of sweetness in the base of this that's interesting. It does have sort of a musky kind of effect to it. So I wanted to share that. I don't think everyone will love that aspect of this. I think it's great, but if you are averse to the kind of musk that is, for example, in Herba Gold, you probably won't like Valencia Grove. But if you don't mind that, this is such an energetic, bright, uplifting, fresh. It gives you this fresh feeling, perhaps like when you first cut open like a melon, like a cantaloupe or a honeydew, it gives you a sort of freshness. Imagine that with some florals attached and a little bit of citrus, and you get the idea of what Valencia Grove smells like with musk in the base. Those are my picks for fruity fragrances for this time of year. We'll do some of the tropical fruity ones coming up here as it continues to warm up in the Northern Hemisphere. I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite fruity forward fragrance for this time of year as it starts to warm up? If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're actually going into your winter and perhaps you're still rocking some fruity fragrances. Let us know what your favorite is as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.